Hey guys, what's up? Happy 2020. Hope you're having a great year so far. Um, for this video, I'm mainly just going to be focusing on the state of heavy metal in a post-SJW society. Um, just my thoughts and experiences uh, as a metalhead in this clown world we're in now. I grew up under the influence of my older brother. Was my initiation to metal. I worshipped at the altar of heavy metal in his room, just surrounded by like awesomely terrifying posters, record covers, just emblazoned with skulls and werewolves and devils, fucking crazy shit like that. Listening to mind-bending noise over the giant stereo speakers in his room, from Black Sabbath and Judas Priest, as well as the newer, crazier stuff like Twisted Sister and Venom, Metallica, Megadeth, Violence, and especially Merciful Fate. That was crazy shit. It's just, I was hooked on it. It's stayed seared in my brain, even as the deluge of all the big popular, 80s stuff crowded everything out later on. That the metal stayed with me, and it really shaped who I am as a person now. Older metalheads in the golden days of the 80s, by and large, identified almost unanimously as being basically anarchist, anti-authoritarian, Satan-worshipping, excess-indulging rebels. And after MTV exploited the glam fad and basically truncated the traditional heavy metal era, as grunge became the next flavor of the week, eventually we got nu metal, brokecore garbage, while the more extreme underground styles of black and death metal got submerged in the subcutaneous mainstream trends like mellow death. Thanks Gothenburg for that. Very cool. The symphonic keyboard, mall goth dreck, all that. The Hessian audience at the core of the movement stayed more and more underground and stubbornly clung on to the dark, ugly, primal roots of heavy metal and embracing unapologetic elitism as a means of keeping the style unadulterated, uncompromised, and true. And as this stylistic exclusion from the herds of the limelight continued, a sense of like traditional living amongst maturing metalheads came into place, and gradually there came a shift towards more commonly right-wing conservative ideals and a growing appreciation toward an incorporation of ethno-Scandinavian, European cultural heritage, and this kind of spiritually aware ethos. And I think having children, as a lot of us did, plays a huge role in this evolution, because biologically, we're programmed to have this survival instinct that spreads out to include striving for the survival and proliferation of our children and our species. But this prevalent outlook throughout Generation X's metalheads basically replaced the degenerate glorification of hedonism, the nihilistic, apathetic, destructive sort of suicidal idealization and fixation on gore and death, which gave way to a focus on inner strength and tribal ascendance, national patriotism and environmental worship, ritualistic asceticism, in the lyrics and imagery of many extreme metal bands. And, like, of course, there's always the stylistic holdovers in the Cannibal Corpse or Sargeist categories, you know, just respectively as examples. But the shift away from that mindset within the various subgenres is certainly still gaining momentum, even within those narrowly formulaic camps. Of course, there's still the underlying rejection of the shallow, politically correct pop culture vapidity that basically just the mundane garbage that infests any metal that simps its way into the mainstream airwaves. You know, it's always, you know, it's just inherently, you know, weak shit. And, even in the brain dead caveman riff categories, there's a firm rejection of that kind of fucking mentality. So, you know, but since the 90s, there certainly has been a mainstream acceptance and subsequent mercantilism, if you will, of the darker, heavier strains of metal, and that's resulted in normalization of this bastardized form, and this all-inclusive, everybody welcome, watered-down shit, this phony misanthropy and pseudo-nihilism, and all the goofy garbage like, you know, Tenacious D and shit, as well as, you know, the sellout bands like, you know, Dreidel of Filth or At the Gates. They started off pretty good, and they just, you know, did the cash grab, you know, so it goes. But, of course, with all the mainstream metal press, these journalists, activists out there shilling SJW dogma and openly supporting Antifa, there's currently a lot of scrutiny over Nazis and NSBM bands, and it's just like a witch hunt now, basically like the modern equivalent of the PMRC and the Satanic Panic hysteria back in the 80s. Ultimately, I think as far as the metal scene goes, at least, the whole left, right, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal quarreling is pointless. It's a distraction that sets up roadblocks and causes unnecessary divisions and infighting throughout the metalhead community, so to speak. It's just, you know, a lot of infighting and fractious bullshit that, you know, really we shouldn't dwell on. That is what I'm trying to get at, basically. Like, group identity is really the only distinction that's lasting and meaningful, and we should focus on cultivating awareness and mutual respect between our different backgrounds, rather than just navel-gazing and LARPing and acting superior and not really knowing other life experiences. You know, it's to our benefit to enrich ourselves and learn. You know, that kind of pretentious, ignorant arrogance is bullshit. It's boomer shit, you know. Don't pretend like because you don't know something you're superior, because you can't be bothered to waste your time to learn about somebody else, you know? There's been this schism that's been created between cultures, especially in America. White Americans like myself have had this ingrained rejection of our own racial identity forced onto us, pushed through all corners of the media, conflating our racial and national background with homogenized characterizations of like just generic mindless religious zealots, you know, evangelical Christian bigots, the ones out there persecuting and protesting and censoring metal. There's the constant MTV portrayal of white America as Bible Belt, Deep South, inbred, white trash, redneck idiots, and of course, they're always associated with KKK, white separatist, like preachers, cops, just like crooked authority figures. They're all racists, and that's the worst thing anyone can be. Just universally vilified, the worst. Always oppressing and enslaving and destroying other cultures, awful. Like, you've got to have that guilt, that embarrassment and rejection of all that poisoned well that they've set up. For me, growing up as a young kid, I lived in mostly white areas, but I had an inborn sort of respect and appreciation of other cultures and people all around the world. I didn't need anyone forcing diversity on me. When that kind of propaganda became ubiquitous, I began to resent it, I was reading history and sociology books, etc., I don't need some fucking TV telling me, you gotta have a diverse group of friends or you're some kind of bigot, Like, it's insulting, it's just not realistic, it stinks. It's fucking commie propaganda bullshit, it's idiot shit. Like pure global homo agenda, and that's how it comes off. Just like metal has always been immutably founded upon a rejection of popular social conventions and normative values, in opposition to society's arbitrary rules. It's always unflinchingly espoused extremist concepts, sinister themes, and dangerous, evil ideologies. True diversity is championed through open expression of various radical, uninhibited, and even conflicting ideas, free, uncensored discourse, and by implementing different outlooks and integrating philosophies based upon individual opinions to create a personal coda, or tulpa, representing one's own hypersigil or logo. And often it's an ever-evolving ethos that still remains true to its own established core and is protected with violent force, guarded with the power of a group of supporters on all sides, the fans, unless the band is really insincere and sells out or something, like Metallica or whatever, obviously. But we have to stay steadfast in our convictions and be unafraid of being falsely labeled by these ignorant outsiders. We're out here mocking, rejecting, and defying all of these demands and sanctions that they're trying to impose on us by the PC fucking media whore fucktards, these sheckling TMZ tabloid rejects. We fight back against their attempts to infiltrate and subvert our core messages. Our unity as an international brotherhood is a strength, while their false diversity it's a part of their own self-destruction and ultimately their undoing, I think. Like, these SJW fucking activists, they like to fight amongst each other, and they hide in online anonymity and appeal to a political system for enforced tolerance, while they ultimately try to impose totalitarian orders as their long game goal. They expect to freely receive something they fundamentally lack, and they demand what they don't even truly conceive and can never really attain. That's respect. That's something that's innate to us as metalheads. Pride, loyalty, honor, devotion to these concepts is what irreversibly sets us apart from them, like on the level of how far man is from insects. They operate like the fucking religious zealots and moral crusaders, with their PC dogma. They're inherently evangelical, with their beliefs, like everyone must conform. Anyone who doesn't is cast out and unpersoned, like in their fucked up version of hell. Like you can't be part of their little elite club unless you toe the line on every level. And these NPC spiritually empty weaklings, they might currently have an upper hand with political influence, but that's temporal and unsustainable. Ultimately, the indomitable will of the true metalhead, the true metal spirit, that's the intrinsic force behind it in all mankind, will always prevail. They won't be around much longer. Their masks are slipping. You know, you see it all the time. It's fucking humorous, really. They're being exposed for the bitchy, resentful losers they are, and a bunch of lame-ass posers and dorks that couldn't get far enough in their own lane and tried to cash in on some hipster metal trends, and now they got their foot in the door. They want to bring everyone down to their level with their egalitarian bullshit, you know? Fuck them. Like, just laugh them out of the scene. They're not even worth, like, getting militant against. There's, like, fucking Behemoth with that fuck Antifa, you know? It's fucking cringy, really. You know, just laugh at them. Fly the flags of true metal. Fly the flag of hate. With all the fucking bad, evil shit they're so scared of, that they want to ban and censor. You know, keep showing these bloody pussies what fucking metal is really all about. You know? Fucking ugh. You know? Anyway, that's basically it. And I'll see you next time. Ugh.